Have you ever known someone who seems completely self-sufficient? Someone who gives the impression that nobody can get close enough to affect them. They may appear calm, independent, and emotionally untouchable, as though feelings simply cannot reach them. Maybe you've been in a relationship with someone like this. Maybe, in some ways, you recognize yourself in them. From the outside, they can look as though they simply don't care. They seem able to walk away when others would fall apart. They stay composed when emotions are running high. Whenever things become too intense, they create distance and retreat behind emotional walls. It can seem as if nothing gets through to them. But what most people fail to understand is that those walls are not proof that they feel nothing. Often they exist because that person feels far more than they're willing to show. And once you truly understand that, the way you see avoidant people may never be the same again. Behind the silence, the withdrawal, and the sudden need to escape, there is often something they rarely admit, even to themselves. Deep connection is difficult for them, but when it does happen, it can happen with an intensity that surprises them. They don't open their hearts easily, but when someone manages to reach the part of them they keep hidden from everyone else, that connection can become something they carry for a very long time. If you've ever loved an emotionally avoidant person, or if you recognize avoidant patterns within yourself, this is important to understand. There can be a moment when all that control begins to weaken. The carefully built defenses start to soften, and something genuine finally has room to emerge. Most people never get to see that side. They only encounter the guarded version, the person who keeps everyone at a safe distance. But the rare people who are allowed to come closer often leave a mark that cannot easily be erased. One of the biggest stories an avoidant person may tell themselves is, "I don't need anyone." They may see independence as proof of strength and believe that needing love makes them vulnerable or weak. They wear self-reliance like armor. They convince themselves that depending on another person is dangerous, that connection is optional, and that keeping people at a distance is the safest way to avoid pain. And if you've tried to love someone like that, you know how lonely it can feel. You can give them your time, your care, and your affection, yet still feel as though there is a part of them you can never reach. You might sit right beside them and somehow feel emotionally miles away. They may talk with you, laugh with you, and share moments with you, while still keeping their deepest self locked behind a door. But that extreme independence is often not confidence at all. It isn't proof that they were born without emotional needs. For many people, it's something they learned as a way to survive. Somewhere along the way, needing others may have become connected with disappointment. Opening up may have led to pain. Love may not have felt safe or dependable. So they learned a powerful lesson. If depending on people can hurt you, perhaps it's safer not to depend on anyone. That lesson can follow them into adulthood. It quietly shapes their relationships, their arguments, the way they handle intimacy, and the way they respond when someone gets too close. They may continue saying, "I'm fine on my own," but beneath that belief is something they cannot completely escape: the human need for connection. No matter what attachment style we have, we are built for closeness. We are meant to connect with other people. And beneath all the fear, old wounds, and protective habits, even the most distant avoidant person can still long to feel understood and loved. Sometimes they simply don't know how to admit it. Sometimes they haven't even recognized it within themselves. Watch what happens when emotions become intense. They may suddenly go quiet. A conversation about feelings can make them change the subject. Greater intimacy may cause them to pull back. A discussion about commitment might create an immediate need for space. To someone watching from the outside, this can look like indifference. But underneath the behavior, there is often fear. Not necessarily fear of the other person, but fear of being completely seen. That's the painful contradiction. Many avoidant people want love as much as anyone else. They can crave closeness deeply. Yet the moment that closeness begins to feel real, panic can appear. Love requires vulnerability, and vulnerability comes with the possibility of rejection, loss, disappointment, and being hurt again. So instead of moving closer, they retreat. Instead of relaxing into the connection, they rebuild their defenses, and people mistake that retreat for strength. They may look perfectly comfortable alone, as though they have mastered independence and need no one. But deep inside, the desire to be loved can still exist. The problem isn't always that love means nothing to them. Sometimes love means so much that they don't know how to handle the risk of losing it. That's why the idea that avoidant people are incapable of deep connection is misleading. They are not immune to attachment. They are not empty or unable to love. Often, they struggle with what happens inside them once love becomes real. If you've been close to one, you may have witnessed this contradiction yourself. One day they seem warm and open. They share something personal, laugh freely, and let you see a softer side of them. For a brief moment, you feel that the connection is finally real. Then suddenly they become distant again. Naturally, you begin asking yourself whether the closeness was ever genuine. But often, it was. The warmth was real. The laughter was real. The moment they let you in was real. Their withdrawal afterward doesn't necessarily erase any of it. Sometimes it is simply their protective system taking control again. They don't always run because they feel nothing. Sometimes they run because caring feels terrifying. Many avoidant people spend years trying to outrun their need for closeness. They deny it, distract themselves from it, or bury it beneath work and achievement. They stay constantly busy, chase goals, and look for validation in places that feel safer than intimacy. They may insist they're perfectly happy alone. Yet when everything becomes quiet, there can be an emptiness that achievement cannot fill. The few people who truly know them may sense the loneliness they never speak about. And then, sometimes, they meet someone they cannot easily shut out. It doesn't happen every day, but occasionally, an avoidant person encounters someone who feels safe. Someone who doesn't force, chase, or demand. Someone who is simply consistent, calm, and genuine. And something inside begins to change. They may not understand why. They may even resist it at first. But slowly, a part of them softens. For the first time in a long time, they experience what it feels like to genuinely bond with another person. And because that experience is so rare for them, it can remain in their heart long after they stop talking about it. They may pretend it wasn't important. They may minimize it or hide behind silence. But some connections are not forgotten simply because they are never discussed. The image of the avoidant person as a lone wolf is often only the surface. Beneath it can be the same desire all of us carry, to be loved, understood, and safe with another human being. The difference is that they may have spent so long protecting themselves that allowing love inside feels dangerous. Their independence may have become part of their identity. So opening up can feel like breaking a rule they've followed for years. And that is exactly why genuine connection can be so powerful for them. When someone who has spent years believing they need nobody finally allows themselves to need someone, even a little, that experience can change them. When someone who has spent so long running finally pauses and allows another person to stay, there is a courage in that which words cannot fully explain. That connection matters because it wasn't easy to create. It becomes meaningful because allowing it required vulnerability. And even if they never talk about it, it can quietly shape who they become. So the next time you see someone withdrawing, shutting down, or acting emotionally unreachable, remember that distance is not always the absence of love. Sometimes it is protection driven by fear, fear of being seen, fear of being hurt, and fear of needing someone enough that losing them would hurt. When you begin to understand that, their behavior can look different. You may stop seeing every withdrawal as a personal rejection and start recognizing the protection behind it. You may see the frightened part hiding beneath the adult mask. That doesn't mean you should chase them or abandon your own needs. But understanding can help you respond with patience rather than pressure. Avoidant people don't need someone to fix them. What they need is the opportunity to discover that closeness can be safe, that love doesn't always lead to pain, that vulnerability doesn't automatically end in loss. And perhaps most importantly, they need to learn that needing another person is not weakness. It's human. Because beneath all the independence, all the distance, and all the carefully constructed walls, what may look like complete self-sufficiency is often something much simpler. It isn't true independence, it's protection. Avoidant people are not fundamentally different from anyone else. They haven't been born without emotions or without the ability to love. More often, they've simply learned how to protect themselves. Over time, that protection becomes armor, and underneath it is the same truth that lives in every human being: the desire to connect, to feel loved, and to be truly seen and understood. They may hide that desire, they may deny it or fight against it, but it doesn't simply disappear. Deep down, the need for connection remains, and sometimes they meet someone who makes it feel safe enough to stop fighting that need. They may continue acting as though they don't need anyone, but beneath all of that independence, they do. They always have. The difficult truth is that most people will never get to see who an avoidant person really is. They only encounter the guarded version, the one protected by distance, silence, and emotional walls. You can spend months or even years beside someone like this and still feel as if you barely know the world inside them. That experience can be painful and confusing. Eventually, you may start turning the blame toward yourself. You wonder whether you're enough. You question whether you've done something wrong. But what if their distance was never about your worth? What if they aren't keeping people away because those people don't deserve closeness, but because closeness itself has become connected with danger in their mind? This is where something important happens. Beneath all that self-protection, there can sometimes be an exception. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it can change everything. No matter how guarded or emotionally closed off someone is, there is always the possibility that they will meet a person who reaches them in a way others could not. And it usually isn't because that person tried harder. They didn't chase endlessly, beg to be chosen, or exhaust themselves trying to earn affection. In fact, those things can often make an avoidant person feel even more pressured and cause them to retreat further. The person who gets through does something different. They don't activate the avoidant person's fear. They don't create the feeling of being trapped. Instead, they offer an experience that feels calm, stable, and emotionally safe enough for the avoidant to finally slow down. Imagine someone who has been hurt by fire before. Naturally, they learn to stay away from it. But then, one day, they experience warmth without being burned. Something inside them begins to question what they once believed. They realize that warmth does not always bring pain. That is what a rare, emotionally safe connection can feel like to an avoidant person. This person doesn't magically heal every wound or tear down every wall overnight. They simply show up without creating more fear. Their love doesn't suffocate. Their honesty doesn't create chaos. Their presence feels peaceful rather than demanding. And for someone who has learned to associate intimacy with danger, that kind of consistency can feel completely unfamiliar. Slowly, it begins to soften the armor. Ironically, many people who care deeply for an avoidant person end up doing the exact things that make closeness harder. They chase answers. They repeatedly ask for reassurance. They push for more intimacy because they desperately want to feel loved in return. And their feelings are understandable. When you're giving your heart to someone, it's natural to want to know that your love matters. But to someone whose nervous system associates closeness with danger, constant pressure can feel threatening. It can reinforce the belief that intimacy is overwhelming, demanding, and unsafe. The rare person doesn't get pulled into that endless cycle of one person chasing while the other withdraws. They remain centered. They care without demanding constant proof. They can give space without abandoning the connection. And for perhaps the first time, the avoidant person doesn't feel trapped. That doesn't mean accepting poor treatment or pretending that emotional distance doesn't hurt. It isn't about becoming passive or ignoring your own needs. It's about being honest and grounded. The energy is simple. This is who I am, and this is how I show up. I'm not going to chase you, but I'm also not going to play games or disappear to punish you. That balance between being present and maintaining boundaries can create something incredibly powerful. The walls don't suddenly vanish. They begin to lower in small, almost invisible ways. At first, it may be something simple. They tell you a little more about their day. They laugh without holding back. They allow a moment of closeness to last slightly longer than usual. They reach for your hand and don't immediately pull away. To someone else, these moments may seem insignificant, but for an avoidant person, they can represent trust slowly taking root. And they probably won't announce it. They won't necessarily say, "I'm beginning to trust you now." Avoidant people often communicate these changes quietly, but you can feel the difference. Their guarded energy begins to soften. Warmth appears in places where distance once lived. Make no mistake, though, this can be frightening for them. Every instinct may tell them to retreat, to protect themselves, and not to take the risk. Opening their heart can feel like placing their most vulnerable emotions in someone else's hands. Yet sometimes they move forward anyway, not because they have suddenly stopped being afraid, but because something about this connection feels worth the possibility of being hurt. That is why these bonds can be so rare. You can be loving, patient, and kind, and still not reach that deeply protected part of someone. It isn't always about how much effort you give. Sometimes it is about whether the connection creates a sense of emotional safety rather than feeding existing fears. When that rare person enters their life, the avoidant feels that difference. They may not understand it consciously, and they may struggle to explain it, but somewhere inside they sense that this connection is different. At first, they may resist it. They may test it without even realizing what they're doing. They come close, then pull away. They soften, then become distant again. Beneath those movements can be an unspoken question. Is this safe? If I take a step back, will everything fall apart? Will you punish me, chase me, or disappear? And when the other person remains calm and consistent, neither chasing desperately nor withdrawing in retaliation, the avoidant person can slowly begin to believe that safety is possible. That realization can change everything. It doesn't make them perfect overnight. They may still struggle with closeness. They may still need space and occasionally fall back into old patterns. But something important has shifted inside them. They've experienced the possibility of allowing someone close without losing themselves. They've seen that love does not always have to create chaos, and that connection does not always have to end in pain. Once they experience that kind of safety, the idea can stay with them. The bond may be imperfect. It may have difficult moments, but a genuine connection can become part of their emotional world in a way they cannot easily erase. And the most beautiful part is that this transformation usually isn't built through dramatic speeches or grand promises. It grows through quiet consistency, through presence that doesn't pressure, through love that doesn't trap, through honesty that feels safe enough to receive. When an avoidant person meets someone who brings that kind of balance, something remarkable can happen. For once, they begin to stop running. This is the transformation people rarely talk about. Many assume avoidant people are incapable of change or destined to choose distance forever. But often beneath their defenses, they are still hoping, still searching for proof that connection can be safe, still waiting to experience someone who feels steady, kind, and emotionally secure enough to help them believe in closeness again. And when they finally allow that person into the space they've protected for so long, it can become much more than temporary attraction or curiosity. It can grow into one of the deepest connections they have ever known. Their walls may look impossible to overcome. Their silence may feel endless, and their distance may seem permanent. But sometimes all it takes is a different kind of experience for the pattern to begin changing. The fortress doesn't collapse in one moment. It comes down slowly, piece by piece. Because no matter how high an avoidant person builds their walls, many are still searching beneath them for someone whose presence feels safe enough to make them stop running. When an avoidant person truly forms a deep emotional bond, it rarely feels casual to them. It isn't simply another relationship or a temporary chapter they can easily forget. For someone who has spent years protecting themselves from closeness, allowing a real connection can feel enormous. In many ways, it means facing the very thing they have spent so long trying to avoid. Avoidant people don't usually give deep trust freely. They learn to create distance as a form of protection. They become skilled at keeping parts of themselves hidden, convincing themselves that emotional independence is safer than allowing someone close enough to hurt them. So when those walls finally begin to come down, it isn't a small gesture. It can feel like exposing the most fragile part of who they are. When they finally allow someone to reach that place, it is often because something about the connection feels genuinely safe, and that experience can stay with them. People often assume an avoidant person can simply walk away and forget. Yes, they may physically leave. They may become quiet, create distance, or disappear emotionally when things become overwhelming. But physical withdrawal doesn't always tell you what is happening inside. A meaningful connection can remain important to them long after the silence begins. That isn't necessarily obsession or control. It's the impact of finally experiencing a level of emotional safety they once believed was impossible. A genuine bond can change the way they understand closeness. It can become a reference point for what connection feels like when they are not constantly afraid. And what makes that experience meaningful isn't just attraction, chemistry, or convenience. It's the peace they felt when, even briefly, they stopped feeling the need to run. That kind of experience can leave a lasting impression. They may meet new people, they may enter other relationships, but a connection that helped them feel emotionally safe can remain significant because of what it represented. It wasn't simply about finding a particular person. It was also about discovering a different experience of intimacy. Someone showed up without turning their deepest fears into reality. Someone offered closeness without making them feel trapped. Someone brought care without demanding that they surrender themselves. And that can be difficult to forget. Of course, this doesn't mean everything suddenly becomes easy. A deep bond doesn't instantly erase avoidant patterns. They may still become distant sometimes. They may still struggle when emotions become intense. Personal growth takes time, and old protective habits can return when fear is triggered. But meaningful trust can still exist underneath those struggles. Arguments don't automatically erase it. Distance doesn't necessarily mean it never mattered. Difficult periods don't instantly destroy what was once genuine. If the connection reached them deeply, it may remain part of their emotional story, even when they don't know how to express that clearly. This is why people can become so confused when an avoidant person pushes them away. They wonder, if the connection meant something, why are they retreating? They may begin questioning whether anything they shared was real. But fear-based behavior isn't always an accurate measurement of emotional importance. You have to look beyond a single moment of withdrawal and consider the larger pattern. An avoidant person may distance themselves, deny their feelings, or even convince themselves that the connection didn't matter. Yet that doesn't automatically mean the experience had no impact. Sometimes the truth they are trying hardest to escape is the one that affected them most. A person who reaches an avoidant deeply can become an important emotional reference point, not because every future relationship must be compared in some dramatic way, but because a new experience of safety can change what they know is possible. That doesn't mean other people are less worthy. It simply means deep trust is difficult for them to create when fear has taught them to stay guarded. There is something powerful about spending years protecting yourself from love, avoiding vulnerability, and keeping everyone at a safe distance, then finally meeting someone who changes your understanding of connection. That experience can become a turning point. Avoidant people often don't open up lightly. When they finally let someone see behind the walls, the significance isn't only about the other person. It's also about what they had to overcome within themselves to allow that closeness to happen. And once they have experienced it, they cannot completely return to believing that connection is impossible. If you have ever been someone who made another person feel emotionally safe, you may not even realize the impact you had. You may think you were simply being yourself. You may not believe you did anything extraordinary. But to someone who expects intimacy to lead to pain, being treated with consistency and emotional safety can feel extraordinary. You may have shown them that closeness does not always end in heartbreak. You may have helped them discover that being vulnerable doesn't always mean losing themselves. And experiences like that can remain meaningful for a long time. Avoidant people may appear detached after a relationship ends or after distance develops, but appearances don't always reveal the entire emotional reality. Someone can struggle to express attachment while still carrying memories and feelings privately. Once trust has been built deeply enough, it can become part of how they understand themselves. So, if you have ever questioned whether you mattered to an avoidant person, whether the connection was real, or whether you imagined the depth between you, don't judge everything solely by their ability to communicate.